No one lives on German School Road. Caution, road not maintained. The sign itself needed maintenance, rusted through and sideways. I remember wondering if it still applied or came from the city at all. Devin and I had left Tor Hill hours ago and got lost in Bridal Veil Lake, away from the neon strip. The town is very dark. Everything is cast in dull orange street lights that do little more than illustrate the amount of shadows a killer could hide in. I'd never been on a vacation before. My family didn't have money. Devin's did. We were friends through church. When they offered to bring me along to their cottage at Heaven Camp, I leapt at the chance and regretted it fast. Away from my family, I wasn't ready for so many firsts. Like, I didn't know how to swim. I almost cried when Devin's dad made fun of me for staying in the shallow end. Devin actually seemed to understand. He said we were bored and got $5 from his mom, who always got irritated whenever pulled away from her romance novels to get chocolate milk from the tuck shop. Getting money from a parent was another first. I was floored when they handed him $100 for a taxi to Tor Hill. It was 1992. $100 is a lot of money to me now. Back then, the ride cost less than 10 and the rest minus cab fare for the return to the cottage was for fun and games. Devin had already told me all about the huge arcade and the go-karts. Plus, they had haunted houses, yes, plural, and a wax museum. I didn't know what a wax museum was, but it sounded great. It wasn't, the arcades and all the rest were awesome. But wax museums are especially weird and I don't understand their appeal. Overall, however, if not for what happened later, that day was one of the best I ever had. My friend spoiled me. He didn't express surprise or shock if I said I hadn't had a beaver tail before. It's not an actual beaver's tail, or make fun of me for being scared of the Ferris wheel. Though we were 15, as the day wore on into late afternoon, Devin counted the remaining dollars. We've got enough for the ride home and probably another hour at the arcade, or we can spend it all and walk back. I walked everywhere all the time already. I liked walking. The only issue for me was not knowing the way. Don't worry. I wasn't until he said that. I've done it before. Come on, how could I argue with him? It wasn't my money. We dropped every last quarter. The sun began to set. When we started walking up the hill, Devin seemed to know the way until a certain intersection. He paused at a place I never would. 4 motels on each corner. Each had different names but identical builds. The pools were empty but the balconies were full of people smoking. None of them looked happy. They stared at us until we got going again. Are we lost? I asked. Devin assured me we weren't. I bought it until we came around those motels again. He laughed it off. We kept going in what we thought to be the general direction of the camp. There were still phone booths and the cottage did have a phone. I asked him to call collect but he refused. We'll be in trouble if they find out we spent all the money and walked home. The edge of Bridal Veil Lake is marked by strip joints. They were open but completely unapproachable. We could ask for help. Trouble, remember? We won't be in trouble for getting back so late. Nah, Devin said. They're probably already asleep. He didn't sound bitter. My mom always waited for all of her children to be home before she went to bed. She couldn't sleep otherwise, for the first time, and not the last. I felt bad for my friend. It's not too far, I think, he said. He didn't seem worried. The long grasses at the sides of the country roads looked familiar. Then we came to German School Road, where the rusted sign cautioned us about the lack of maintenance. This way, he said. The dirt road descended into hills of undulating darkness. You sure? Yeah, we passed the other side on our way out in the taxi this morning. I saw the sign. Devin pointed to the street sign. It looked about as old as the caution sign. I wish Devin never noticed its twin at the other end. We wouldn't have taken this shortcut otherwise. It's dark. It's the only way back I know, he said. I thought you said you walked back before. I did, but didn't get lost last time. It was still daytime. I followed the taxi route. We shouldn't have stayed so late, I said. He shrugged. It's not a big deal. Home is straight ahead. The camp will be on the right side at some point. Maybe it isn't far. Devin started walking before I could argue more. I had no choice. I had to follow. The lights behind us were enough to see by until the hills and huge, untrimmed trees growing alongside the weed-choked ditches blocked them out. There were no houses or farms, of course. I could barely see the outline of my hand in front of my face. I only kept track of Devin because he turned on his watch light. At some point, it got cold. We shivered in our denim shorts and t-shirts against a strong wind. It felt like a storm might be coming. Our pace quickened. I don't know how long we walked before I bumped into Devin. Devin, what? Shh. His sweaty palm somehow found my mouth to cover it. There's someone ahead. He turned off his watch light. I squinted and saw what he meant. Something blocked the way. It moved an arm, and then we knew it wasn't an animal but a man. He came toward us on silent feet. Devin pushed me back. Go. I staggered and fell, and Devin stepped on my hand before realizing I'd gone down. He helped me up, and I saw the way back had been clogged with more silhouettes, maybe 3 to a dozen. I would have stood there and died if Devin hadn't dragged me to the ditch. We plunged into thorny branches. My hands and face got cut up bad enough I could taste blood. Fingers weaved a grip in my hair and pulled hard enough to rip out a chunk. I yelped and struggled forward, wading through darkness and pain to the foot of one of those huge trees. Another good thing about being poor is the boredom. It motivates you to do lots of pointless things repeatedly just to kill time. I climbed a lot of trees, a lot, even blind. I could find the footholds and grips with ease. I scrambled up to a high branch before looking back down. Rich kids don't climb many trees. They've got better things to do. Help me. Devin screamed as many shadowy figures crossed the ditch toward him. They didn't seem as bothered by the thorns. Their group moved calmly. In another moment, they would be upon him. I'm ashamed to say, I looked away. I froze and closed my eyes too. He fought and cried as I heard them take him back to the road. The storm began, a heavy rain drowning him out, and what they did to him. I shook and prayed and spent the night in that tree. At some point, the thunder stopped. I don't know when. I only opened my eyes and uncovered my ears when the sun rose. The road was empty except for a few specks of blood in the dirt. I sprinted the rest of the way down the road. Thoughts of calling out to Devin, maybe they'd left him alive somewhere beyond the trees, were quashed by self-preservation. I felt bad, sure, but I wanted to live. I never wanted to see those people again. For the entire marathon back to camp, I speculated about who they were and Devin's fate. They weren't thieves or homeless people. Both would do way better in a populated area that left criminals and the insane. I saw Devin sitting on the deck with his parents and the police. In response, I dropped on the path and started crying. Devin's mom and a constable ran to me while his dad uttered a relieved "Thank Jesus" to the sky. The police questioned us, but Devin wouldn't speak or look at anyone. He stared at nothing, and his expression shifted occasionally to abject fear before settling into placid acceptance once more. I told the story from my perspective. When I got to the part about the road we'd taken and people that confronted us, the constables exchanged a look and walked away for a moment. They spoke quietly, I remember, because I asked Devin's dad what was happening and he didn't answer. 2 ambulances pulled up, and one of the constables went to fill them in, I guess. The other constable came back to speak to me. "No one lives on German School Road," he said. I was confused. I didn't think anyone did. He got me to tell more of the story. When I came to the hair chunk missing from my head, he presented it to me in a Ziploc bag. "We found it in Devin's clenched fist," the constable said. I didn't know it then, but I think they thought I had done something to my friend. With only my version of events, and no visible harm aside from the thorn scratches from the ditch on Devin, they had no evidence a crime had been committed, aside from becoming catatonic. Devin didn't appear worse than I. The other constable rode with me in the ambulance, and I asked him about the people. "Who do you think they are?" He looked at me very seriously before sighing. "No one lives on German School Road." I was astonished. Did the cops have a script for any German School Road related matters or something? "Why?" I asked, and repeated when he didn't answer. We pulled up to the hospital. The constable couldn't get out fast enough. I asked him one more question without really thinking about it. "Why didn't they take me?" The constable seemed nervous. "Because you got away," he answered cryptically. "Don't go back there, okay? It isn't. You won't be able to," he swallowed. "The road isn't maintained." After that obvious lie by omission, he walked away, and I was left to ponder what the hell had just happened. I never saw Devin or his family again. His parents arranged a ride home for me. They divorced a few months later. My parents grounded me severely for my participation in the ordeal, but also knew I was telling the truth. They're deeply religious and believe in not dwelling on evil because it's what the devil wants us to do. They only mentioned Devin to me one more time the following year. My attitude had taken a bitter plunge. I started questioning a God that could allow an innocent kid to be harmed by demons or evil people. Didn't he love us? Isn't he all-powerful? "They never left the cottage, son," my dad said. "Devin lives there with his mom. It's why his father left. Devin threw a fit anytime they got him ready to leave, so she decided to stay there. He doesn't talk, son." I didn't see how this information weakened my case. "So, also, how do you know all this stuff?" "She speaks with the pastor. He got permission to share their circumstances with the Bible group. He needed advice, but we didn't know what to do beyond prayer. Devin wants to go back to the road, son. He tries every day and his mom has to stop him. He goes back. I couldn't imagine ever wanting to go near the place again. Why? He tries to climb a tree. My mother said, he tries and he tries, but he can't. I know you told us you climbed in order to escape. Why do you think he does it now? A sudden panic seized my heart. How does he get home? How does he, huh? My dad appeared concerned and made me sit down. His mother let him go once, only once, to see where he'd lead. She brought along fellowship members. They forced him into the car, so he didn't get up the tree. No, is that important? Do you think it would help if he did? I don't know. And that was true. I really didn't know if it would help, but an irrational fear also motivated me to say it too. What if Devin did climb the tree? What if he climbed higher than I had? Then he'd be the one who escaped, not me. Then I'd be the one that would have to go back there and climb. I have no idea where this thought came from, but I felt like it was true, and that it's true today. He shouldn't go back. I told my parents. His mom shouldn't let him climb the tree. I couldn't hold in my tears. Okay, son, okay. My mom gave me a hug. I'm sorry, Devin. I'm so sorry. Forgive me.